don't have to be apologetic for Shedeur Sanders not getting drafted. 32 teams didn't draft him. They got 6 more rounds left in this draft and an opportunity for him to go pro. And I know that like we sometimes we have an affinity for these kids. Like Dan does breakdowns. Dominic, we've all been doing drafts for a long time. We want to see them live their dreams. We want to see them drafted where they want to be drafted. But that's not always the case. I wanted Lamar Jackson to be a top 5 pick. He ended up going 32nd. So this whole like I love what Dan said. We are not in mourning. It happens every single year where somebody doesn't get drafted, where people think they're going to get drafted. Shedeur is a good player, and people have said that ad nauseum. The anonymous, he's not good, or he got bad attitude, or the interviews was bad. The hell with that. When people don't put their name with something, I immediately dismiss it, okay? But here's the truth in it. Shedeur does not play the position like the guys that we've seen teams reach for. And that's what we were thinking. Is a team going to reach for him and think that they can get to a ceiling where the pick is justified? Was that the Giants at 3? Was that the Saints at 9? Was that the Steelers at 21? Which I didn't think the Steelers would be a reach, especially in this climate of the NFL when you don't have to give them a large sum of money. And that was a team that's been looking to try to figure out what their quarterback situation would be for a number of years. But ultimately, he still has an opportunity to land in a good spot like Dan's alluded to. And also, we ain't have a pick last night in the NFL draft.
No.
I didn't talk to one GM. The owner didn't reach out to us and ask us, should we take Shedeur Sanders? So we got the draft coming tonight. He'll probably go tonight in the NFL draft, and it's about his work. And I always say this to young kids that's going into the draft. I got a son that plays basketball. Actually, the story that matters is the one we tell at the end.
Yep.
That's the one that matters. So we'll see where he goes, and we'll see what his career does.
Nick,
Yeah, Big JTV, man. You know what I mean? And we're not talking shiny sharp today. Like, comment, subscribe as y'all come in. Like, comment, and subscribe. I put a little clip over there at the very beginning of this video talking about, well, Marcus Spears. You know what I mean? Giving an objective and very good analysis as to why Shedeur did not get drafted in the first round. I might put a video here of Shedeur's reaction to it, or I might put it at the beginning. I don't know what I'm finna do, but I'm finna do something.
We all didn't expect this, of course, but I feel like with God, anything possible, everything possible. I don't feel like this happened, for no reason. All this is, of course, fuel to the fire. And under no circumstance, we all know this shouldn't have happened. But we understand we're on the bigger and better things. Tomorrow's the day. We're going to be happy regardless. Legendary.
Ooh. Right. The fact remains is Shedeur didn't go in the first round because he's not necessarily a first round talent, right? And number 2, I think I'm going to say something not even that controversial, but I'm going to say something. I think Prime was the reason he didn't get taken in the first round. And why do I say that? Right? Let's start off with psychology. And then go to performance, right? Deion Sanders was one of the most talented athletes of all time. Meaning, in other words, this guy was so talented in the sport of football, he elected to also play baseball. And he did really well as a baseball player. Not a Hall of Famer, but the man was a competent to good baseball player. Right? On top of playing cornerback, which if you ever played football, is one of the hardest positions to play. Because not only do you have to be fast, you need to be anticipatory, you need to be very, very skilled hip and feet wise, right? You have to be perceptive, you have to be smart, you have to understand plays, right? And he did that. On top of that, he played baseball, and he had a pretty good track and field career at FSU, Florida State University, right? With the Seminoles. This was a 1% of the 1%, meaning football players are 1% of the entire population. Let's start off with that. But within that 1%, there's an even deeper 1%, which are Hall of Famers. Within that Hall of Famer class, there's an even 1% of that, which is the greatest of all time. That's what Deion Sanders was, right? And because of that, Deion Sanders, was at least having the confidence of somebody who was that. And not only that, Deion Sanders has the personality of somebody who is that. Unfortunately, Shedeur Sanders is not as talented as his father. And guess what? That's okay. Because guess what? In the history of football, maybe 10 people are as talented as Deion Sanders. I might even say less than that, maybe 5. So because of that, you know what I mean? Deion Sanders' confidence makes a ton of sense. But unfortunately, within that, right, I'm talking about Deion, gave his sons a lot of confidence because that's what a father should do. But unfortunately, it teeters on arrogance and maybe a bit of entitlement, right? Because your father, who is one of the greatest players of all time, might have, unfortunately, gave Shedeur that kind of perception that he's even close to his father. He's not. Let me tell you some comparison that a lot of people said that, Shedeur Sanders is. And I kind of like this comp. He's almost like a Kirk Cousins or a Dak Prescott or a Geno Smith. And I am not mad at that comparison because guess what? Shedeur Sanders, with a great receiver, with good weapons, he is a fantastic football player. Look, same thing with Dak Prescott. With a CD Lamb, with a Zeke Elliott, fantastic quarterback, borderline MVP. Kirk Cousins with Justin Jefferson, borderline MVP, right? So we're talking about a guy who has the confidence of a Peyton Manning, but maybe the field production of a Kirk Cousins, right? And unfortunately, that's what led scouts to not want to take him with the number 9 overall pick concerning this New Orleans Saints, or the 25th overall pick concerning Jackson Dart. Now, for me, I'm not sold on Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart is not going to be that guy. But I personally believe that if you put Shedeur Sanders on like the Rams or back up behind Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, I think that he has the potential to, by his second or third season, be a full-time starter and develop into a very, very solid starting quarterback. But unfortunately, what we've done, and I think I gotta blame a little bit of Prime on this one. He's installed a type of leadership and maybe raising of Shedeur to believe that he's greater than he is, and maybe he needed a little bit of humility, right? Maybe a little bit of a slight attitude adjustment. Do I think that Shedeur is going to have a great career? Absolutely. I just think that because people expect prime out of Shedeur, that changed their perception and their draft boards of him. You know what I mean? But y'all get in the comments, man. Let me know if I'm right or am I wrong, man. Let me know if you agree with Marcus Spears or not. Do y'all think that Shedeur ends up on Cleveland? Maybe New Orleans double backs? Maybe the Rams get him? I think he'd be great on the Rams. That's for me. Get in the comments. Let me know how y'all feel. Big JTV, I'm out.